So what's kind of cool about this is that it really doesn't matter how long you've been trading, whether you've been trading for a couple of months, whether you've been trading for a couple of years. You can see here this dates all the way back to March of 2005. And I actually started trading much longer than that. I actually started trading commodities in 1994. But then when I made the jump over to full-time equity trading, it became a completely different animal. And I think one of the most important things that you can learn as a trader is you actually get to the point where you start to understand that reading charts is a massively different skill from learning how to make money. And what I kind of talk about it in a lot of the education that we have at Battle Stocks is that learning how to trade is not the same thing as learning how to read charts. Anybody can learn how to read charts in a month, and be really good at it in a month. But learning how to actually do what we call is tape reading is really a whole other world, really. There's no other way to say it. And I think what's kind of interesting is that so many people have this illusionary goal that they want to be the best chart reader on the planet. And you know what? Chart reading is the wrong goal. None of us opened an account to be the best chart reader on the planet. We opened an account to grow that account and actually make money. So hopefully as you get comfortable with Battle Stocks, hopefully as you start to play more and more, as many games as possible, whether it's stocks, Forex, which is now available, or even crypto, hopefully you won't be this guy that I was back in the day and asking what am I missing and how do I get across this bridge from not being too happy to get to the other side to actually get to where the money is. And the big question mark for me was actually finally whittling down everything that I was doing that was confusing and just focusing on one specific niche and only one strategy. I think so many of us get all caught up in the hundreds of thousands of indicators out there and 5 billion moving averages, and high frequency trading is shaking you out of positions, or at least that's what you think anyway. Maybe they do on really illiquid stocks, illiquid markets, and really slow days. But if you actually have a strategy that has an edge, all of that other stuff is baloney. And that's really when you get to the point where you start taking responsibility for whether or not you can make money, and you make that leap from trying to be a better chart reader to actually being a better trader. And I actually had this conversation with my buddy Mitch, and we were always talking about how when you're going through that trader journey, you always feel like you're really, really close, but you can't reach it. You always feel like you're just one thing away from finally making money. And if you really dig deep, you start to, like Jesse Livermore said in Reminiscences of a Stock Operator, you eventually start to make a big list of what does not work, eventually getting to the point where what's left over is hopefully for you what you can define as your edge. And my edge happens to be something called order flow, which is basically doing my best job to say, is what the institution's doing obvious? And if it is obvious, I just never fight that. So if you happen to be going through this, if you happen to log in a little bit late here, knowing how to read charts is one thing. Knowing how to make money, completely something else. And that's actually why Battle Stocks was created in the first place. You get into the game here, and you start to play as many games as possible, but not, of course, it's kind of cool to win prizes and whatnot, but what's even better is actually taking the results that you get in the game after game after game after game in Battle Stocks. You can literally play a new game every 10, 15, 20 minutes and really work your edge. And what's kind of cool, too, and we'll get into this a little bit more now. So let's just say, for argument's sake, I'm actually going to throw Bitcoin up on the, let's actually just do an hourly chart, because it obviously got crushed yesterday and pulled and came down. So in this hour, when it got crushed, and let's just say that the hourly chart is our main trend, our main time frame. What you would essentially be doing is you're saying, okay, right now from where this opened and this entire hour, so from here where it opened and all of the other trading, the bears or the sellers were obviously in charge. And of course, the stock market got hammered and crypto followed and whatnot. And by the way, at my picks tonight, I'm actually picking long. I'm hoping we get some good fills at 9 o'clock. So I actually think that we're going to bottom out here. I think that we're a little bit exaggerated to the downside, and I think we're going to get a bounce. But here's the point that I want to make. in this hour, if you can come into the hour and say, this is when it started, and until I see this price broke into the upside, I'm going to say that the big money, the institutional money, is right now in charge of this thing to the downside. And that means all I'm going to do is look for stocks to sell, look for crypto to sell, look for Forex to sell. It doesn't even matter what the security is. What matters most is that you pick a side first, and you have to have some sort of criteria of what would make you decide to change that side. So in this particular hour here, if we went back down to the 5-minute chart and we zoomed it out during that hour when we kind of got crushed and came all the way down, all of these 5-minute candles, all we would be looking to do is only looking for spots to get short. So on the way down, depending on what time frame, I generally never go lower than a 5 no matter what I'm trading. You would only be looking for a spot or an entry. So say, for example, like this one or this one here, which is what we call a swing high. So a swing high, you push down and you actually got an inside candle and it pushed down. So you would have only been looking for the short. So what happens is when you have that criteria, and again, we'll say we're talking about it on the hourly chart. So for example, 1, 2, 3, 4 hours here, we're actually bullish. Bullish meaning buying, right? You would be then dropping down to your 5-minute chart because in that instance, your bias is obvious. The smart money is doing something obvious, and you are not fighting it at all. That's the whole point of trading battle stocks as a game, to reset every single hour. So let's just say, for argument's sake, you really want to get, I'm actually going to use a stock just as an example because they're a little bit more liquid during the day. I know we're here to talk about trading Bitcoin tonight and crypto, but I just want to use this as an example because it could definitely help you in your crypto picks or your stock picks. It doesn't matter. Each one of these candles represents an hour. So if this is the first hour of the day, well, let's actually use that as a first. So let's just say, for argument's sake, this is 9:30 to 10:30. So first hour of the trading day. What you would do is you would say, okay, that's the opening price, and as long as price is below that opening price, I'm only going to go into battle stocks and choose stocks that I can sell, as long as the stock that I'm looking at on the hourly candlestick is trading below that time frame. So essentially what you're doing is you're getting your order flow. Now, I do it on a much longer time frame, and I stick to it because the institutions work orders over a bigger time frame. But the point I'm trying to make, in battle stocks allows you to rapid fire test your ideas every 10 minutes, every 15 minutes, every hour. So if you want to practice your trading and prove to yourself you have an edge, prove to yourself that you can follow your edge, pick anything you normally trade, whether it's a crypto, whether it's a stock. And again, I'll use this one as an example. So let's say the hour is red, meaning selling. This is the open, this is the close. So within that hour, there was selling. A little bit of indecision here, but then more selling, right? So what you would do is you would then drop down over here into the battle stocks games, and you would pick stocks in sync with your bias that hour, and you keep practicing your edge. You keep practicing your strategy. That is by far the best way for you to prove to yourself, number one, that you have an edge. Obviously, that means it follows through and occurs more often than it doesn't. And number two is you can follow it. I can't stress this enough. The easiest way to improve your trading is to get into battle stocks every day, figure out what your stocks are doing by the hour. So again, I'm just using stocks as an example here because they're a little bit more liquid. So this is kind of cool illustration here in Apple. This hour, you would have only been looking for games where you can pick stocks to sell. The next hour comes, and you can see we actually finished mostly green. A green body candle there means that buyers were kind of in charge there. It actually pushed prices all the way up here, even though it ended down here. So this hour, you would go into battle stocks, look for your favorite games, and trade those games long. You'd only be buying them if they were green. Same thing as this. So let's just say, for argument's sake, let's say this was one stock and this is a different one, even though it's not. It's the same chart. You might have one stock that's a selling order flow for that hour and a different one that might be a green one. So what you would do is you would go in and make your picks, and the stock that was trading green for the hour, you would buy that stock because currently it's strong, and you would sell based on the most recent hour. So it's kind of a cool way for what we call rapid fire testing for you to get in there, take your strategy, and how do we zoom that out even more? So let's say this hour, it's red, you go into battle stocks and you're only looking for short sales. You would then drop down to, let's say, your 5-minute chart for that last hour, which starts basically right here. So as it starts to bounce from 3 o'clock to 4 o'clock, as it's bouncing, you're not getting long. You're only looking for a spot to sell short based on that hour. So it's kind of cool there, depending on what time frames you watch, depending on what securities you watch. Obviously, today we're going to be talking about Bitcoin and getting some entries in Bitcoin. And as I said, my picks on Bitcoin tonight, I am actually loaded on the long side. I'm buying everything because I think that we are a little bit extended to the downside. So I'm looking to get a nice little bounce out of this today. Hopefully you guys have some questions. Don't hesitate to ask. The game that we are waiting for starts in 6 minutes and 30 seconds. Very excited. If you have any trading related questions, doesn't matter if it's crypto or stocks, charting, technical analysis, how to actually make money, I will be more than happy to answer. No problem at all. My name is Pete Renzulli, in case you didn't figure that out, or if you have not been on any of the previous calls. These calls are a lot of fun, especially when we get a lot of people. Usually on the morning games, we have a lot more people who are trading during lunch, and nighttime can be a little tough, but I am pretty pumped. As I said, I am long. If you're not in the game yet, make sure you hop over to the dashboard, and you could either choose this right here or choose here. Either way, you can enter the game. See, it's a nice 15-minute game. We got some big prizes coming out. Basically, the way it works is as you earn money, and actually this is kind of a way to do it here too, whether you're in the money or positive, you end up getting additional entries, kind of like the NBA lottery, where except in reverse. In the NBA lottery, the more your team stinks, the more balls you get in the hopper to increase your chances of winning. In this case, the better you trade, so you have a positive P&L, you finish in the money, you finish in the top 10, and you enter the game. 4 different ways to increase your chances of winning. So we've got 87, 88 players in the game right now. So we're actually going to get a full vote here within the next, what do we got, 5 minutes and 3 seconds before we get started.